Da, 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 da. The table's moving. Today it's the college. Yeah, all that's part of college, right? It's like the pomp and circumstance. The table's moving. The bed won't stop spinning. There's a time and place for everything, and that place is college. But today we're going to interview Matt Silva, a college student who can tell us all about all that stuff that's been going on down there with tables moving and whatnot. So stick around.
This is a Security Weekly production.
Welcome to Secure Digital Life. If your users are going to keep putting risky stuff on your machine, you're screwed. So Top can help us understand the complexity of blockchain.
I was reading through the show notes, man, and oof.
In binary, it would be 001. Who cares? But it's probably not significant anyway. Be like you're looking out through the HAL dot, you know, like,
oh,
hey Dave.
It's like Sims, but with, you know,
it would be like Sims
instead of AI. It's only.
Roger Williams University is a premier destination for cybersecurity, offering in-person and online classes designed and taught in collaboration with industry experts. Using virtual environments that simulate real-world systems, you'll solve complex cyber issues and analyze cyber threats to prepare you for in-demand jobs in this rapidly growing field. Whether you're just starting out or want to advance in the cyber profession, RWU offers degrees and coursework at all levels. Learn more at rwu.edu/cyber. Accredited by Microsoft, Cisco, NetApp, IDLE, Oracle, and EC Council, QuickStart delivers high-impact, low-cost IT training through its cognitive learning platform in multiple domains. With QuickStart, you get an ever-growing catalog of courses, self-paced courses offered through a monthly subscription, virtual classrooms offered through an annual subscription, peer-to-peer learning, mentoring, official courses, certified instructors, hands-on labs, and more. For more information, visit www.quickstart.com. Use coupon code PAUL20 to get 20% off on all cybersecurity courses. QuickStart, creating world-class technologists. Speed kills, Dell. That was just for Vicky. Check out our on-demand material. Some of our previously recorded webcasts are now available on demand, including the state of endpoint detection and response and the state of penetration testing at securityweekly.com/on-demand. Imagine that. Today we're going to talk about college and the careers coming out of college. I've got Matt Silva, an official designated college student who actually, we checked his credentials. He actually is a college student. He's not just pretending to be one.
Yeah, I got the shirts and the hats and stuff.
Yeah, he's got the hat, so that makes it okay. Yeah, that's how I got my job. And, I just wore a shirt that said professor on it, and they were like, oh, yeah, sure, come on.
Yeah, come in.
And we have Russ down here, who is also a college employee. So it's like college. I was going to wear my cap and gown, but I forgot it, and my cat was sleeping on it anyway. So
I think they'll forgive you.
Yeah, probably. You know how many people, I will. You know how many people you catch with fake resumes?
A lot.
A lot?
All the time. I personally, I mean, just little old me, I have actually caught two people, not at the university, but in companies, in high-level positions, if you can believe this, who had fake credentials. No kidding.
Or falsified, at the very least.
No, they were fake. I mean, just like straight up, like, the guy had a diploma on the wall that said, Harvard University. Master of Business Administration. And I kept looking at it because I was like, oh, okay. And, you know, I was like, but there was something wrong with it. I kept looking at it and I kept thinking, what? Something. It's just like, you know, when you see something weird and you're thinking, there's something a little bit off about this person. Yeah. And I kept thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking. And I called a professor at Roger Williams who went to Harvard. And I said, Brett, you went to Harvard and I know you have a diploma hanging on your wall. Describe it to me. And he was like, it's in Latin. I can't do his accent. And I was like, ah! And I went back to the guy. I was like, aren't Harvard diplomas in Latin? And the guy was like, well, they give you the option of having them printed in Latin or English. And I was like, wrong. And he got fired.
Oof, right, yeah.
And then we had a guy that had a fake, he had a fake undergraduate degree. He never finished. And he just had it printed out and put it on the wall.
That's great.
He was working.
Must be true, yeah.
So giving Matt some ideas,
right? Yeah,
like, you know, why keep going? Yeah, we're already in trouble.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked about certs. So certainly in the past we've talked on the show about certs, and we've talked about college, and we've talked about careers, and we're going to talk to Matt a little bit about some of these ideas and about why he made the choice he did, because obviously he could do all kinds of different things, right?
I mean, I would like to think so.
Yeah,
hopefully I'm just not like incompetent.
You could you could be a snowboard instructor.
Oh, I was once.
No, I know. You don't think I checked this interview out? It's like people have been watching you for like 2 weeks. We got some interesting questions coming up.
Oh,
let me
boy.
tell you.
Already.
Yeah, there was that whole incident with. Yeah, no, we won't get into that. Well, for me anyway, there's always negatives and positives about college, and obviously I went to school. I didn't even fake my credentials, although it's tempting. Go ahead and check; it's legit. But I mean, when I went to college, it was really in the field. There was not a lot of options in terms of you couldn't just say, okay, I'm going to leave high school and I'm going to go be a programmer. It just didn't happen. I mean, they hired programmers from university programs, and that's just how that worked. Russ, what about you?
Well, same thing. I mean, they bundled all the computers under either two majors, either CS, computer science, for more, for more development and stuff like that, and then CIS, computer information systems, for more like databases and back end stuff. So we didn't really have options like cybersecurity or data analysis or any that. Well, maybe had data analysis, but we didn't have anything more. Now the field is sort of fanned out.
In Matt's era, so in Matt's era, there becomes this option. So you're in high school, and all of a sudden you have companies saying, okay, you're good at this, just come on board. Like forget that crap.
Right.
And my observation about it, and you've heard it from us in the past, was that then that's fine. I mean, for a few years, and then all of a sudden you hit that 2 or 3 years out, and somebody says, we're going to promote you to supervisor, and then the HR people show up with the check boxes. And we hear, Russ and I've heard this while I was Hacking Fest last year, we were talking to lots of people about, and one of the more common questions was, I need an undergraduate degree. Because it wasn't even I need a master's degree, it was I need an undergraduate degree. And I know numerous people personally that have run into that. Not that it's a sales pitch, but it is something you have to think about. If you're a high school student and you're thinking, I'm going to just bail here, I'm going to go get a job as a pen tester and make a whole bunch of money and forget it.
Right.
Which isn't, I mean, it's an option for people.
Yeah. I mean, it depends how far you can climb. Because,
I mean, did you ever consider that?
So I actually didn't know too much about cyber when I actually enrolled in Roger Williams for cybersecurity. So when I was coming out of high school, I was from a trade school actually. So my vocation before this was graphic design, right?
Oh, okay.
I knew I liked computers. I wanted to tinker with like a bunch of different programs. I was just learning about it, and then about halfway through, I decided I wasn't really into the whole starving artist thing. And it's cool to be artistic and whatnot, but I was looking for something a little bit more like intellectual stimulation to it. So I started looking around for like computer science degrees. I didn't really know what computer science was. La-di-da-di-da. I'm looking around. I'm poking around. And I come to Roger Williams, and then I go to the admissions office, and like one of the pamphlets, it's like cybersecurity and networking.
Has a picture of me on it.
Yeah, it does. It does. It's like you hunched over the student, like
me and
leering.
Steve. It's either me and Steve or another guy named Matt. So.
Oh. Weird.
I don't know which one. There's different pamphlets, but I know one's guy. I won't say their last names. You know who you are, but it's Steve and Matt are on those pamphlets because it's like they're always asking if they get royalties or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but no. So I was looking through the pamphlet, and it has like really sexy descriptions like network defense, learn industry skills. You know
who wrote those sexy descriptions too? Yeah.
You. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was me.
Right. Nice.
Actually, I don't know. Maybe somebody in marketing. I haven't read some.
So I read it and I was like, wow, this seems really interesting. Like, because it's written really nice. And then I started poking around for like I wonder if any other schools have this, and I found that like not really. The only thing I could find to was like Northeastern had like an information assurance sort of deal, but like it wasn't really like the same thing. It didn't get right to the point the way like the pamphlet kind of described it to me. I was like, wow, this is really cool. This is the only college I've ever seen offer this. And I looked it up. It seems like it was in really high demand. Yeah. And it's something I hadn't learned about. It's something that seemed really interesting. And so I dropped right into it. And it was one of those courses where they kind of teach you from the ground up. So I didn't have to know a lot about networking or programming even before to start, because you start at the basic 100 levels and then you kind of work your way up. So like I have friends who ask me, because like they come to me for advice now with anything, everything. That's like
that's when it gets scary.
Can you help me reset my router? And I'm like,
you get that.
Yeah, all those.
What's WPA?
Yeah.
Oh wow, you're getting the advanced people asking for help.
Right. Yeah. So you get all that. But I have friends who ask me like, oh, so like how did you learn all this stuff? Like, did you do it before college? And I was like, no, like I learned all of this in the classes, which is a really cool thing, because I was a bit worried I'd be behind, because there there are whiz kids that you know enthusiastically pick up code books at like age 15.
I think we get both kinds of people, because I mean there's a lot of opportunity today in high schools. I mean, not all high schools, but in a lot of high schools. So we go meet with high schools all the time that have, AP computer science. They have, AP. I saw one that had a CCNA program, like a Cisco certification in high school.
Wow.
So yeah, those kids are like walking out of high school with CCNAs and things, and that's pretty cool if you could do that.
That's
well,
good.
what's interesting too is the information is leaking out into high schools and junior highs right now. I mean, when we started a high school program at one of the schools, we had maybe 7, 8 enrollments. This summer, I'm teaching SEC 100, which is the intro to computer hardware. I have 20 enrollments.
Right.
People are getting really excited about the buzz. They're hearing a lot of this from their guidance counselors and fellow, students and things of that nature. So it's getting out there.
Yeah.
I think it's hard, though. I mean, one of the things that I always try to tell people is that it's a challenging thing. I mean, that's why people get paid a lot of money, to do that, because it's not. A long time ago in Colorado, Senator Hank Brown, I'll use his name because he's a senator. He asked me why we couldn't produce more programmers, because they had this huge programmer shortage in Colorado, and he was like, why aren't we just training people up to be programmers? And I was like, well, it is rocket science to some. I mean, I'm trying to scare people off. Anybody, you can do it with hard work. You don't have to be smart. You just have to work hard. I'm not smart. I just work hard. Actually, I don't do either one. I don't know. I think I bribe people. I think my basic technique is alcohol. So,
and Rick and Morty.
And Rick and Morty, and so I'm like the leading expert on Rick and Morty. So if you have a Rick and Morty question, just send them right in, because I can explain it. And, I'm trying to. We want to get the producers of that on the show. So it's like they're too famous now. We missed the window where they were like
Dan Harmon.
Where they like nobody knew who they were, and then like some people were like, "Who's that?" And then now it's like Dan Harmon will be meeting with the Queen of England this morning to discuss the European Union.
Yeah, pretty much.
What do you think the difference in computer science and cybersecurity is?
Yeah, so from what I actually have a minor in computer science, or like the concentration, which is like the equivalent of it. And what I've noticed, so it's computer science, a lot of like algorithms and efficiency, and like getting software to run efficiently, and like designing it around a need. Whereas cybersecurity is a bit more based off the network concepts of security, port security. Of course, there's like pen testing and stuff like that. So, while of course there's like because the overlying concepts of programming, where you obviously you want to have good I want to say grammar, but like you want a tab, you make it look nice and pretty, and make sure everyone can read it, unless your goal is to not have anyone be able to like decipher it. But and then
Microsoft,
right. But so I have friends that are in computer science, majoring in computer science, double majors, computer science, mathematics, and I ask them all the time, like what am I missing out on like these higher level classes? Because it's just something that I should like be interested in later on. And they say it's a lot of efficiency and like learning, because eventually you start getting into like cloud design, which is like Azure and AWS and all that stuff. Which strays kind of from the main cybersecurity courses, in the sense that cybersecurity courses is based around forensics, network monitoring, firewalling, stuff of that sort. So they're a bit divergent, but they're related in the sense that they could probably like be cousins.
Yeah, cousins. They could marry.
In some states.
In some states.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
Jerry Lewis.
Who? No.
Yeah, he married
Jerry Lee Lewis.
Well, that's what I meant. Not the
nutty
Teleton
professor,
guy, or the telethon guy.
I can't do his
Jerry
voice,
Lee
but,
Lewis.
Yeah, Jerry Lee Lewis was like,
great bowls of fire.
Put your foot up and play the piano. I'm not that flexible, so I'm not going to try.
Oh, jeez.
Had a rough night.
Russ isn't wearing pants. We had to put up with that, but the rest of
it's no pants Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, for me, computer science is and has always been that's the algorithms. I agree with that, and it is about efficiency, because once you learn how to code, so when I was 14, I went and learned how to code. I got my dad to get me a job, and these engineers taught me how to write code.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
It was a bunch of weird nerd engineers back when they all wore white shirts and black and skinny black
Oh,
ties
right,
and had
with
black
little-
horn
little-
rims.
little pen holders, yeah.
There were still guys down there that had slide rules, and it was really like total like 1970s NASA engineering kind of stuff.
Right.
In fact, there was this daring guy down there who often wore those like wide ties of the 70s. And everybody was like, "Oh yeah, that's Brad. Yeah, his career is very, very limited. It's like skinny black ties will be in charge." And I was like, "I don't know, guys. It's like things are changing." And then disco happened, and the next thing you knew, it was just like, yeah. But I mean, but computer science is about. I mean, there's a lot of different avenues in computer science. Not to sell it short, because computer science is a great career, but there's sort of the just programmer. So that's an app developer, programmer kind of person. There's an engineer who's somebody who's about efficiency of algorithms. And now how do I take what you wrote, how do I maximize it on this platform, on this hardware? How do I take that sorting algorithm you have and make it faster?
Right.
I was putting together show notes today about password cracking for just some extra show notes. And, you know, I was looking at, like, how do you optimize, like anybody could probably write a little algorithm that just says, A. But how do you optimize that? You know, how do you start making that intelligent? Not artificially intelligent, but just how do you make that a smart search instead of just crazy brute force stuff? Because that's where you start getting into computer science engineering. And then there's, of course, low-level developers who do like chip development and firmware design and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of different nice venues in there. And then on, you know, the other end of it's like, although used to game design was really simple. I was talking to somebody the other day. I was like, I used to teach game programming. I mean, no kidding. I actually taught game programming. And I was thinking about games. I was talking to Russ about this yesterday. I was looking at some of these games now, and I was like, how do you do this? You have like 1,000 people writing code for 1,000 years to come up with. I mean, and it's just so complex. I couldn't.
Well, now they have complete engines, which they didn't have back in the day. You know, now the Unity engine.
So writing like
Unreal,
you know, writing having a little triangle. Like one of the games I wrote, I didn't write the original game.
Duke Nukem.
No, I wrote 3 levels for Duke Nukem. But no, one of the games, the first game I wrote was a rip off of another game called Asteroids. Which was a little triangle.
Yep.
And it shot a little, like, 8-pixel dot at some other little like trapezoids that were random floating around. And it was, I was like, okay, that's pretty simple.
And then they break up into smaller asteroids.
Yeah, that mine didn't do that very well, but but that was the idea. Was can you get it just to make the rock break up? Can you make the rock just to disappear from the screen and keep up with? And and of course, today it's like, oh yeah, Fortnite is. Let's take 19 people, put them in an object, fly them across town, and everybody jumps out, and I'm going to keep up with this whole world. Because the first game that I saw that blew my mind was Crysis.
Oh
right.
Yeah, Crysis.
And I could not
fear God mode.
But it just freaked me out because it was like not only was what I was doing happening. I mean, it was just in terms of pure coding. It was stuff was happening offset that was being kept up with. There was like helicopters flying around, and I was just like, okay, you're out. It was like, okay, it's out of my league. But then cyber is like Matt said. To me, pure cybersecurity is about now all those things, but it's not about the efficiency of algorithms. It's about securing those algorithms. It's like how do you test an algorithm? So you do have to understand that stuff,
right? Yeah.
Because if there's once AIs go rogue,
right?
And Wintermute is coming for us. I saw a robot yesterday. It was made out of tentacles. I was like, that's the thing that's going to be coming for you. It had tentacle arm. They were like, it's much more efficient than human hands, so why keep making robots that look like humans when you could make them with tentacles? And I was like, yeah, when that tentacle thing's coming at you with a meat cleaver, yeah, you'll be wishing you knew some cybersecurity people then, because we'll be out there with ball bats taking on the tentacle robots.
Right.
And we won't even get into the rest of the tentacle stuff. But yeah, I didn't say that. No, they can edit that out later. We're not live, right? Yeah, exactly. But I like both those things, and of course the networking piece too. I mean, you mentioned that a couple times, and I think that's and I obviously I with the industry people designed the program that he's in, but
right.
I was really hung up on networking because I felt like it was sort of the quintessential building block of a lot of cyber, because so much of the threats come in via various network threat vectors. And yeah, that doesn't mean to discredit malware, which is more on the computer sciencey side of that whole thing. And computer science, I think, has never delved into the network support side of things as much.
No, not really. The friends that I do major in computer science that I ask about, I think the only network classes they really have to take are your 2 semesters worth.
Now they take 4.
Yeah, yeah. The ones that graduate with me in the class of 2015, I think the only ones they've really ever taken are going to be the 320 and the sequel.
230 and 231.
230. Yeah. 3 2s and 3s and.
There's a 400 now.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so I asked them, and like that's the only ones they ever had to take, and like they have no other background in it. And I'm like, that's really kind of interesting, because especially since they do work with, their classes are based around the cloud, and like they do go into binary in some of their classes and stuff. They talk a little bit about some of the other basic network stuff, but they never really get into like the main themes of networking.
But I think that comes out of engineering idea too, though, because computer science always came from engineering. I mean, all the people I knew in computer science were mostly engineers. I mean, that CIS thing happened later, and it started moving into other areas. But the engineering idea was always that when you need a skill, you bring the skill in. So if you had networking issues, you bring a network engineer in to do that part of the design. And that's sort of a more modern thing. But I think it's kind of come back to that too, like these games and things. You're going to have a networking specialist on a game. Right. Because there's a whole component of that. And today games have to have security specialists.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
Because you could hack the games.
Yeah, especially, you mentioned like Fortnite earlier. People spend tons of money just buying like weird like cosmetics on it. But people have now their credit cards or debit cards like linked to their game accounts.
That's how they make money,
right? Yeah, exactly, through Sony. So that in that sense, now people's Xboxes and PlayStations have like their credit card information saved on it, and literally number to end, CVV code on the front and back, name on it, the whole kit and caboodle.
But even beyond that, it's just like, okay, what if I could, like, there was an early hack. I don't know if it was in World of Warcraft or something. It was one of those games. There was an early hack where your actual attributes were saved on your disk.
Oh yeah.
So your character, so all you had to do was like log out, go in there with a text editor and look at the file.
Oh, look, I'm level 99.
And it was all security through obscurity. So it's like you don't know what the fields are, but guess what? People figured it out. And then you realize that if that the Sword of Destiny was rated as a +2, and you just changed that 2 to say like a 15, all of a sudden the Sword of Destiny was the sword of well, I can't say the things I'm thinking. It was the sword of goodbye. I mean, and that was a lot of stuff that I experimented with in early games, not on World of Warcraft, but I did get banned from. I got banned from 2 games. I got banned from a game called Red Baron on Sierra Online.
Oh, I remember Sierra.
Yeah, and
King's Quest,
and I got banned from a game called Temple of Acerbius. Because in Red Baron, I realized that the network stream for the coordinates and everything in the game were actually on your local system, and I was able to intercept them. So I was able to redirect the game output to a loop, like a loop back. I could get it and modify it before it went out the door, and I could turn my old biplane into like a supersonic jet fighter. So I could see a little pip way off on the horizon and go Mach 2, and it's like you catch up and you shoot the guy, and then you just zip away, and they don't know what happened. And the company was like, "We don't know what you're doing, but you're banned."
And people were doing that. Astronaut's Call was another MMO that came out, and they had a similar hack where people were intercepting packets, and they recognized that, oh, look, you can change various things with the packet. So the one famous hack was they drowned an entire city, and so all the NPCs who had unlimited or infinite hit points would go aggro, and then they would start killing the nearest people and that was it. So it was kind of wild to read about. So.
Now, I got unfairly banned from Temple of Acerbius, or Pit of Acerbius is what it's called, because I was not cheating. I was using the real world. What we did was every character that appeared in the game started at this little tavern thing, the
spawn point.
Yeah, so it's like, and they each one had like a leather armor and 50 gold pieces and a short sword or some stupid nonsense. I was like, I could go in the pit, I could fight, the demon Asmodeus and probably get my entrails ripped out, or I could stand in the alley beside the pub and go, "Hi, would you like to join my team?" And the people, these newbies, because it said, you see someone wearing leather armor. And they would go, "Yeah, that would be cool." Yeah. And then when they come in the alley, you click kill player. And I was just doing what people do in the real world. I was calling a guy over going, "Hey, buddy, you want to buy a short sword of Destiny?" And then you cut their throats and leave their corpses stacked in the alley. And I got 50 gold pieces and leather armor, and then we'd take it and sell it. And we pretty soon had tons and tons of money.
Put on my wizard robe and hat.
I never went in the pit of Acerbius. I don't even know what's in there, but I'm sorry, we got off subject there, but that happens. We should do a gaming show.
Oh, that'd be great.
There's tons of them already, but it would be fun. So what do you think about experience then? So I know you're doing an internship right now because that was why you're coming over here. So I mean, you take classes. I'm an advocate. I mean, I think there's always a need to start somewhere.
Right.
I think that, you know, and there's a lot. I know some of you out there that are listening are saying, Doug, come on. I just sit down in my basement and I figured it all out. And okay, you did. I agree. I mean, I've done some of that myself. But at the same time, sometimes people just need a place to start.
Right.
I mean, like, how do you get good skills? Snowboarding is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I used to be a ski guide, so I don't know about snowboarding except that you get injured really badly a lot. But,
Yeah.
but in skiing, you could always tell people that had been to ski school. Like my daughter went to ski school. She's like a ski school 8, so she's perfect.
Right.
You watch her ski down a hill, she is absolutely, everything is perfect because that's just the way she learned to ski.
form, yeah.
Whereas other people are self-taught skiers, and you see them, and they may be able to do it, but it's very different than, you know,
Right.
or guitarists are the same way. You can see somebody who went to Juilliard school versus somebody who just sat in their basement and learned how to play. Very different things. So I don't know, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a little bit envious of the people who kind of just like pick it up and like are just whiz kids. I had a couple that were like in my freshman like math class. We had like a presentation, and it was like the 8 a.m. like statistics class.
Ugh.
It was Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Everyone's like dead, and I remember one day it was like just dragging on, like he was going past at the time. And I remember looking over at one of the kid who was like in one of my like basic like network security classes, and he goes in and he hops on his laptop because he's like taking notes, and he goes into the projector and he like remote shuts it off mid lecture, and the professor just can't figure out how to get it back on because he's like this decrepit old man. And and he's just like, I don't know what happened. Sorry guys, we'll have to pick this up next time. And then like this kid smirks and just closes his laptop. And I was like, wow, like that's cool. He's been here for 2 weeks. Like, what can I do? Like, I can recite the OSI model or something.
Well,
Which is fine. But then, so in terms of like skills, right? I enjoy my classes in the sense that, you know, I didn't know where to look to do these things in high school. And by taking these classes, the information is really condensed into like what is the most relevant, what the industry is most looking for, and it gives it to you in the most plain and simple terms. It goes, know this, this is important, you need to know this for this reason. And then you go, oh, okay, so time for me to learn this. And then sure enough, as it comes down later on the line, as topics kind of recursively come back around over and over again, you go, oh, so that thing that, you know, maybe I kind of got it back then, now that I'm laying more in this kind of light, it kind of stacks. And then by the time you get to an actual job, then you get like another light on it, where it's like, okay, so I know this thing, I know how this works. Now I can go and make it work the way I want to. So it's kind of just taking, you know, the difference between having knowledge and like having, you know, the wisdom to like put it into practice. So, you know, a lot of people can like memorize a dictionary and they can know a lot of words, but until you actually putting it into practice to make it do something for you is really where the application of knowledge comes into play.
One of the things I like about your story, Matt, is that you didn't start the university with the interest of going in specifically to cyber.
Right.
You started as graphic design.
Right.
And so, you know, you didn't really know that you were going to end up that way.
Not at all.
And you started from the beginting and worked your way through with a lot of hard work and perseverance and focus, you know. And so, you know, I think that programs that cybersecurity programs, or any programs that are well constructed, are ones that you can start from the beginning and work your way through. And here you are now on internship, doing great things and actually applying the knowledge that you learned. So
yeah, and it's very encouraging too, because you know you call in for that interview, and like, you know, sure enough, they get the phone call back. They want to do like a skills interview over the phone. And you go, holy crap! Time to brush up on my Linux. You know, I better bust out, you know, the CISSP book or something. And you know,
which bit is the sin bit?
Right, honestly. So I actually had one of those phone calls probably about like four or 5 days ago, because I'm still feeling out for some things.
Yeah.
And so like, you know, they grill you over the phone, and at the end the guy like congratulated me. He's like, yeah, like you actually did really well. You know, la-di-da-di-da, and it was really encouraging for me to hear, because, you know, lo and behold, 3 years ago, like I wouldn't know any of this stuff, and here's this guy who's like a manager at this like SOC telling me that he's actually one of the more qualified people that like he's interviewed, and that, you know, he's really interested in having me like come on board and all this other stuff, which is really cool, because coming into it, I was really nervous that, like, you know, because looking from the outside in, people who like do programming or like computer work, you go, oh, they're just like one of those kinds of people. They're in a whole different league. Like people are really scared of it. They think you got to be like this huge, like this intuitive kind of machine learner.
And that's the way we like it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So like for me, I was really concerned that like these people would have like a different like mind that would work differently than mine, that I wouldn't be able to understand how programming works. But I was fortunate to have some just like really great teachers that really laid it out in like layman's terms that kind of really made sense. Like before, I wouldn't have understand like why programming language is called language, but now I'm like, oh wow, like these are, you know, I can totally understand how you can make sentences, and this is how it works out, and this is how it communicates.
Now I could take that the other way and say, then he had these good teachers like, say, me,
Yep.
and that made him feel a lot better about his own intellect, because he realized that, you know, gee, if Doug can do this, probably anybody can. So,
yeah,
it's
got to be hope.
I'll take it as a compliment. I'm gonna take whatever I can get.
Right.
So you think those internships are important too, though? I mean,
yeah, absolutely. If you can snag one at like a SOC, any sort of like network security. Even ones that even aren't necessarily like super security based. There are ones that just pertain to like forensics or like hardware security, any sort of stuff like that. It's really great because, you know, you learn even talking to like the peers that are there. Like I talk to people who work there that like me, I may be an intern, but there are people who've been doing that, you know, for 5, 8, 12 years, and I go, what should I like, say if I really like the job, I go, what should I know? Like what are like, in order to get into here, what is things I really need to get down? And they'll go, well, this is what I use every day. This is software that we use on a day-to-day basis. These are really the kind of skills that I use every single day. You should really brush up on X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, and I mean, I started that way too. I mean, I was doing, I guess I would call it an internship, and, and I really liked it because I always like to be around really smart people that are smarter than me, because I mean, I really do. I like that I learn all kinds of stuff, and some of those guys were just, I was like, wow. You know, but then that gives you a sense of accomplishment when you first go in there and they're like, do you know how to do like a binary bubble sort? And I'm going, I don't even know what those words mean. I rode down here on a bicycle, you know, and the guy's like, okay, well, let me give you some examples and give it a shot, and I'll take a look at it, you know, and then you learn how to do those things, and you're like, okay, wow, that is so cool.
It's also really cool too, because like with the internships, especially in cyber, like they usually pay pretty well.
Yeah.
Like even though I don't have like a degree or anything, you know, there's internships that hire you for like $18 an hour, and I have friends who are like in business degrees, and they're sitting at the cubicle, you know, doing Excel sheets and stuff for probably like 12 to like 13, and like I would much rather be in a SOC writing up emails to this one guy who like screwed up his like, you know, email security, and here I am like this like 20-year-old reprimanding this like 42-year-old man. It's like, oh, you screwed up. This is your second strike. You know, you're really on the shit list now. Like, no.
I have a name for that. It's called the frosted glass window. Because when I was the sysop at the university, when I was an undergrad, we had a frosted glass window, and people would come down there, and it was really interesting because people would come down there and they would knock on the little glass, and they'd open and go, yeah, you know, and it's like, hi, I'm Dr. Kelman. I'm like a Nobel-winning physicist, and my job. Are you the guy that cut me off? You're the one. I saw you. You came in. You had that Mercedes, and you pulled right in front of me in the parking lot. I didn't get to park today. I had to park over there in that East India lot. So guess what your priority is? 0 forever. So yeah, there's that whole thing is always, and cyber's even better for that, because now you can be ominous. It's like being a police, you know. It's like, ma'am, like, did you click on this link?
Yeah.
Did you click on the link right there, ma'am? Did you? Yeah. You can just admit it to me. Go ahead. And you could. I want to get one of those detective setups with the bright lights.
Oh yeah.
Where were you on the night of the 15th?
Give it up! You can't handle the truth. Yeah, it's like, because I want to just like, give it up now. You clicked that link, didn't you? You thought that Nigerian prince was your long lost relative. I know you did. You can have some fun with it. So
yeah.
Matt, a couple of the skills that our graduates or current students or prospects, you know, besides the hard stuff, the programming, the information security, penetration testing, and networking, we get a lot of students that say to us, oh, well, I don't need to know how to write well. I'm going to be coding. Why do I need to know how to write? Or communications is another one. This kind of soft skills, they call them.
Right.
What are your feelings on that as, you know, as somebody who's gone through this before?
Well, so my opinion on that is that you can identify something that's like potentially like super dangerous. You know, you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you can't convince your boss that it's important and something you need to like invest your time into, it's gonna sink. And then they're gonna be like, oh, why the hell did this happen? Like, why didn't it's like, well, I try to explain that, you can't come in and saying, well, you see here in this operation, the second bit, you're gonna lose them really quick. In terms of in those kind of speaking and soft skills, right? You need to be able to break it down into like plain English for like the plebs. And the
lay people.
So you need to be able to explain it to like like a 60-year-old manager and explain. All right, so this is what this piece of program or software does, or this is what this function does. Here is the danger of it, and this is why it's important to like this operation. And taking that kind of really broad technical concept and condensing it into something like that is something that is a very technical skill, because it requires not only that you understand really what it is and what's going on. You can't just wing it and just say, well, it's this. You can't look it up in the book and be like, well, the definition of this. You don't get it. You got to be able to break it down for them and make sure that they care about it.
Well, that's we used to call us being in the cage.
Right.
So I used to work at this place, and they had this chicken wire cage down in the basement where they had people at work, and they would put people in the cage that like just didn't have those soft skills, as Russ says. They were rude, obnoxious, and they were maybe a bit great at what they did. But the problem was once you went in the cage, I wasn't in the cage. I know. I wasn't in the cage.
He was in a coop.
The cage was. I was in the oubliette. But once you went in the cage, it was really hard to get out. I mean, it was, and so writing and speaking are really critical skills to me. I don't think we do enough with that at university. I wish we could do more, but there's just so many hours in the 4 years. But it's I really have seen people fail that were good at what they did because they couldn't sell it.
Right.
So social engineering, there was just a conference that maybe you went to, or maybe you didn't find one. There's probably one nearby. You can always take those skills from social engineering. You don't have to go take public speaking and do debate.
Right.
You can go to a social engineering training and learn it from that side, because that's the same skill.
And try it. I mean, harmlessly.
Well,
You can call up Walmart with, centralized PBX systems and try to gain access from an outside phone number. Not saying I've ever done that before, but I'm just saying, give it a try. See if you got those skills.
Right. That was that announcement I heard the other day where they were asking for the price of adult diapers.
Everything in aisle 4 is free.
Sir Walter Raleigh in a can.
Right. Yeah, I'm also. I follow a lot of people like InfoSec Twitter, for example.
Yeah.
I saw a thing the other day where they were making fun of this guy because like he posted this thing on LinkedIn, and he was like, first of all, he was made this huge post like acting as if he's like the biggest thing, like he's the best thing since like sliced bread. Like he thinks like he's the it. He has all the skills. I deserve to be in every single like blue or red team.
You.
Yeah, right. And he's saying all these things that he will not accept from an employer, and he's like, yeah, please send me jobs. And so it has the people would just like screenshot it and post, and he was like, here's how to not get hired at my company. Yeah, exactly. And everyone's putting on the blacklist because like, oh, what, like,
I saw that.
Like what a tool. Like
So last thing, so we got to wrap up. What do you recommend? So all those people out there, you have any words of sage wisdom for them now?
Yeah, I mean, just don't be afraid of like technology. I know a lot of classmates of mine, or people who are in like say criminal justice, and I kind of explain to them like the classes I've taken, and I show them some like the PowerPoints that like that come my way, and like, wow, this information is like really cool. Like I never knew all this stuff. And I started talking like malware forensics and whatnot. Like, oh, like, is there a class I can take? And I've actually talked about 3 or 4 of my computer justice friends, criminal justice.
Could be a thing.
Major,
criminal justice friends, and they've actually taken up minors in cybersecurity because some of the classes like digital forensics and like all this stuff that can parlay into law enforcement. Maybe they're not exactly being super, maybe they're not looking to get exactly as a, homeland agent, digital forensics, whatever. But say if they get put into a certain
there's a lot
branch,
of room in the field in that area.
Well, exactly.
You don't have to be the deep dive bit doctor. You can definitely be the person who can get it done.
Right. Because I'd imagine that there's a lot of police agencies that just need a reasonably knowledgeable officer that they could just train up.
Right.
So, and I'm sure there's a lot of guys there that just aren't comfortable around a computer, and they're really just comfortable with like door-to-door police work, but they maybe they're lacking in certain departments. So for people that are really kind of just thinking that maybe it's that they can't parlay into their career, or like maybe they don't have like a technical mindset for it, it's just something that can be worked through. I mean, I'm a firm believer that hard work can outweigh skill. I think that like talent can be beaten by just persistent studying and effort. Doctors aren't doctors just because they pick up like one textbook and they go, oh, this was easy. Yeah. It's just
persistence.
Yeah, exactly. It's a persistence. It's just the knowledge and the dedication to just really devote yourself to it. There's nothing that can't be learned if someone else has learned it. So I would say just if you have an interest in something, just check it out. There's plenty of classes for it. I know there's modules on modules online.
Yeah.
I know there's free online sources like
Cyberary.
Cyberary. Yep.
Yeah.
That's actually what I recommend my club members to use.
Udemy and others. Coursera is another one. And
so that's the way the news goes. So thank you, Matt, so much for being here and taking your time. I know you were busy at an internship and had to take time off. And Russ, thanks for coming in. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks because Russ and I are going to France. So see you then. Bye.